Thank you, Ms. Grier, to the mistress of ceremony, to the ministers of the gospel that's present this evening, to all our public officials, elected and appointed, and excuse me for being personal, but I have to welcome my Commissioner, Corey Johnson, to all other friends and neighbors. Good evening. It is an honor to greet you this evening, and it's an honor to welcome you here in the Carriage Maze Recreation Center in Turpin Hill area. We hope that you will enjoy the program prepared for you, for the committee has worked very hard in getting it together. We ask that you relax, sit back, and enjoy everything that has been prepared for us. And we know it's going to be good because Lord knows we need it. So we welcome you to Carriage Maze. Just to tell you just a word or two about Carriage Maze. The name of this center is named after Willie Mays' mother, Carriage Mays. She was the first county city council, and she served over the recreation department during her tenure. So we feel it an honor to have our two buildings named after Carriage Mays and the park. So what will you do for others when we leave here? The topic says, I know one thing that we can do, as the mistress of ceremony has already stated. When I know, as my grandmother says, when prayers go up, blessings come down. So we praise our Father and thank God for you this evening. We ask that you enjoy the program. And when you go from here, you can say it's been a good day, a good night, and we go out to work for others.
I'm Chuck Evans. I'm Solicitor General for Richmond County.
Okay.
I'm Dennis Payne. I'm the board president and representative for District 9.
I'm Scott Peoples, and I'm a captain with the Richmond County Sheriff's Office.
I'm Judge Saunders, and I'm with Juvenile Court.
Commissioner Johnson.
Commissioner Corey Johnson, representing District 2.
I'm Gil Gillian, representing the community. I'm a former mayoral candidate here.
Start with Solicitor General's office has the jurisdiction over what some people call petty crimes. If it happens to you, you don't think it's that petty. However, we deal with traffic situations primarily. We also deal with some serious offenses, domestic violence. We deal with some abuse cases with children. We deal with the average speeding ticket in this jurisdiction. We deal with thefts under $300. We have a lot of work. We had 35,000 cases last year. We try to handle these things as efficiently as we can. But sometimes it does take a little attention. It takes us working hard to try to get the case prepared for trial. That's a little bit about what we do. Our court, I call it a people's court. I'm not going to ask everybody to raise their hands, but I imagine if I asked anybody who had been involved as a witness, a victim, or somebody who was ticketed with a speeding ticket in this jurisdiction to raise their hands, I think there'd be a lot of you that have come in contact with our court. It's a people's court. And our goal as prosecutors is to use and exercise our skills to seek justice, not to win a case. We're not notching our belts. We're not gunslingers in the Old West. But we're trying to make sure that a just result is achieved.
You got to step on people's toes to wake them up. I mean, back in 1997, Reverend Fryer, you remember in this very community, yes, Scott, you remember, there were a whole bunch of drive-by shootings in this community. Right. And we had forums just like this. We're asking, what are we going to do? And people in this community knew who was doing what they were doing. And we went door to door, did we not, Scott? Asking for help. And the door was closed to us. A few brave people from this community stepped forward. And we were able to, I guess you'd call it, clean it up. After we had a series of trials and got some people off the streets, I was able to drive back through this neighborhood, and elderly folks were able to plant their gardens again. It takes one person, one at a time. It's not a science, it's an effort. It's a dedication, it's desire. Reverend Fry started, he didn't know what to do. But he knew that something had to be done. You're a neighbor, you're a friend, you know children. All of you do. It takes more, and don't get me wrong, knowledge is important, but it takes desire. It takes a desire to want to help your fellow man and your fellow child and your children. This is your community. And for once, folks, we all need to stand up and say, this is our community. Who came to court because there were two young kids. Reverend Lockhart, you may remember this. Two young kids, approximately 12 or 13 years old. And they were doing all kind of things. But one of the things that they had done is broken into her car, I believe it was. And she sat back in the back, and as is my custom, I give her an opportunity to speak. And she comes up, and I say, yes, ma'am, is there something that you want to say? And the first thing out of her mouth was, I've known these two little boys right here all their lives. I've seen them in the neighborhood, and I have seen them doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And then my question was, well, did you ever tell anybody? She said, I didn't want to get involved.
Years old. And I just happened to be on Facebook last night. And I saw her and I'm like, well, why does she have that balloon up under, that ball up under her dress looking like that? And then I blew it up and I found out she was pregnant. She's 27 years old, working on baby number 6, with daddy number 5. But my point is, she knew better, but she did not want more, or to want to do better. You're 27, you got 6 babies, 5 babies daddy, you're not working. Where do you draw the line? And for me, I would always say, where you gonna go? What are you gonna do? You didn't graduate from high school. You don't have an education. None of your baby daddies are taking care of them. I think sometimes we have to have that courageous talk with folks that we don't want to say because we're afraid we're going to hurt their feelings.
I came, and I think I mentioned it on Fat Show the other day, I didn't come up in the shallow community of Bethlehem. I came up in East Augusta, okay? I grew up in a community that at one point in time was very stable. It was a very wholesome community. And then it began the drugs and all the activity started to occur. And before you know it, it became a drug-infested community. But I grew up around all of that, okay? I left there and I went to the projects and I saw that around me. But internally, I wanted better for myself. Now, I'm not saying I didn't make mistakes along the way. I did. I made quite a few mistakes. But I was determined to do something that was going to make a difference, even if it was just in my family life, okay? Because I realized that because my dad didn't go to college and my mom didn't go to college, don't mean I can't go to college. Just because my dad didn't graduate high school don't mean that I can't graduate high school. I wanted to set an example and make sure that people see that because of where you come from, you don't have to become a product of that environment. And that's what I did. And that's why even after my first election, so many young people were inspired because they realized, now I see it with my own eyes. It's possible. You can come from this and do something. And so they were motivated to do something with their lives. But sometimes it's just simple as seeing somebody that's very close to you do something to succeed, that make you change your mindset and the way you feel about life, the way you feel about it.
Never been abused in my life. I've been beat down. A child would do what a child would do. I had to go and get my own switch many times, but I wouldn't be able to stand here today if I had not got that. But the problem, the solution was my mother and my grandparents, who started when I was like this. They didn't wait until I got to be 14 or 15.
That's right.
And when they said something, before I got to school, I would do what they said because I understand what that switch would do. But today, we are afraid because of the myths. We think that, well, if I do that, if I go for Judge Sanders, if I go for the sheriff, they're gonna lock me up. Well, I don't have any kids of age now. But if I had some, they would have to lock me up because I'm not going to tolerate anybody in my house running but me.
Whoever has put in your heads that you will be arrested for disciplining your child, you don't have any basis for that. You haven't witnessed it. It hasn't happened, not at the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. So I don't know where you're coming up with this from because it has not happened. Okay? I had a case one night that was kind of questionable. I came to work one morning and one of my investigators had locked up a lady for cruelty to children. Her 16-year-old son had come home after being gone for 3 days. She tried to discipline him. Of course, he was 2 times bigger than she was, put her up against the wall, and in the process, he got hit in the head with a belt and had a little mark on him. I went down to the jail, got her out, said, next time call me if you need me to hold him down. And then we went and put him out at juvenile hall. So that is the only case in the last 20 years that I've been there that I've ever seen where there was a bad judgment call on that. Now, we do lock people up for cruelty to children, but let me tell you, if you saw what I saw, you would lock them up too, because it was cruelty.
So how do we dispel the myth that we cannot discipline our children?
We're doing it right now.
Okay,
this is what we're doing by
okay.
educating people that you will not be arrested for disciplining your child. Not in the grocery store, not in your house, not in your front yard, or not here in the center right now.
I see some folks shaking their hand. Go ahead, Reverend Williams.
The mother said, now you want me to straighten Johnny out, but when I straighten Johnny out, he come to school, you call the police on me, I'm not going to do anything else. So the myth has been confused around.
That's right. Tell me we want to help one another. That's right. I ain't going to do nothing because I don't like people. When your child, you see your child out there doing wrong, but me, I have to come through the neighborhood and see boys getting beat down. I know I stand a chance of getting hurt, but I stop them. Don't y'all know y'all get in more trouble in 1 second you can get out in a lifetime. I want you to leave it alone. And they respect me for that in the neighborhood. But I'm just saying, this is what we need in our neighborhood. We need people that got real love. Keeping it real, what I'm saying is, that got the love that really runs from heart to heart. And when we do that, bottom line is love. If we do that, we have a better community.
We got to take ownership of our community, and we got to take ownership of our kids. And sometimes, I mean, I hate to say it, you know, my mama, I'm raised by a single parent. My mama didn't have a high school education. So everything that we're talking about, I know. My mama's 5'5". She doesn't raise her voice. You see, I'm almost 6'5". And mama used to tell me, make it very clear. I said this last night. Mama love you. Mama key.
Every one of us need to ask one basic question. What do I bring to the problem?
All right.
What do I bring to the problem? Because if you see somebody doing something wrong and they're not in your household, do you have the responsibility to do anything about it? If you see somebody in your household doing something, do you have a responsibility about it? I don't think that there's anything under the sun that comes up that if we don't ask that question, that we can go away scot-free. Because you know what the Bible says? It says, all have what? Sin and fallen short of the glory. And your sin sometimes can be not reporting what you see.
And I'm like, this man, he said me, I'm 70 plus. And they ain't gonna hurt me. Got people are strength and whoever wanna come. They can get them when I'm finished with it. Because I'm not gonna let them hurt me. And you come on, what can we do? We can't do nothing. Because our hands are tied. When segregation, immigration came in, that's when the child spanking and all that stuff started. They didn't want the white teacher to beat the black children, and the white teacher didn't want the black folks want the black teacher to work their children. That's how come y'all got Tubman Middle School out there right now. Years ago, you wouldn't have no Tubman Middle School because the people could have straightened them out at home.
I'm not going to disagree with you, but certainly going to